One of the weirdest things I've ever found while doing research for my History of Shonen Jump videos was discovering the 2001 Lassie manga by Yoshihiro Takahashi. Takahashi being the author behind the classic Jump manga series Ginga Nageriboshi Gin, focusing on a group of dogs living in the mountains who are being threatened by a giant bear called Akabuko. A lot of Takahashi's other works would also contain dogs, like White Fighter Yamato, Kachu no Senshugamu, and the various Ginga sequels, dogs being a massive love of Takahashi, so it's easy to see why he'd make a Lassie manga. For a quick crash course on Lassie, it was originally a short story to a novel by Eric Knight in 1940, seemingly based off a real event where a half-collie named Lassie was responsible for saving the life of a seaman in 1915 that had been involved in a deadly shipwreck, although the ideas of collies named Lassie have been around before, with Elizabeth Gaskell's 1859 short story The Half-Brothers, where a collie with the same name would help save someone in a snowstorm, a core plot point of all Lassie stories being the collie saving or helping humans. The two Lassies are actually considered different characters, and Gaskell's Lassie is in the public domain. I can't find too much information on how official the manga adaptation is though, but I think it's safe to assume it took influence from the popular American television shows and movies that were plentiful throughout the decades before its creation that were based on Eric Knight's work. Lassie would also be decently popular in Japan, as 1996 would see Nippon Animation's famous dog Lassie air for a total of 26 episodes. Hopefully I can show some footage in the background for this video. On to the actual manga though. Lassie begins with a woman dreaming about Lassie, it being a bit unclear at the beginning, before shifting to Lassie in a forest being harassed by dogs. They then bully him for having a pendant given to him by humans, with Lassie wanting to hold onto it because he fears the human who gave it to him will forget him otherwise. It's a memento of their promise to always remember each other. The idea of dogs distrusting humans is a big one throughout the manga, and it's evident in the character of Germain, a German shepherd who is very cynical of humans and helps out Lassie throughout the beginning of the story. The story meanders a lot, with Lassie and Germain getting injured one after another and are taken in by a family. Here Germain's trust is really tested, and Lassie helps prove humans can be kind, them taking in Germain and nursing his wounds, while Lassie continues his journey to find the lady who gave him his pendant. The next short arc starts with a 12-car car crash that's rendered pretty brutally, and the cause is a small unlucky dog named Chio Maru. Chio Maru's story revolves around two people who happen to find him abandoned as a puppy. They would fall in love and take him in, only for the man to cheat on her and for the lady to die of overworking, her last words directed at Chio Maru being to look after her husband in her place. And if that sounds like a lot of information, bear in mind that this happens in the span of a few pages, and this manga is only 2 volumes long. The Lassie manga is no joke, and it won't give you a second to breathe. After this, the husband gets a new wife with her own poodle. Chio Maru bites that poodle and then gets beaten to near death by a club. Fun family-friendly stuff as expected from a Lassie manga. Lassie then does what Lassie does best and helps people out by reuniting Chio Maru with his owner and exposing his new wife for the dog beater she is. There's also this side plot line about company ownership papers and a younger man who the wife is cheating on, but Chio Maru and his owner put a stop to that pretty quickly too, with a judo throw and some biting. The husband then figures out Lassie has the locket and locates his owner, organizes them to meet up, and they reunite, and the manga ends in the span of a few pages, the manga only being 2 volumes long, so I don't think you can expect too much. It does feel quite rushed though. Overall, it's a series of encounters of Lassie meeting new humans and dogs and reuniting them or teaching others to trust in each other, some basic but nice moral lessons, although far too much is crammed in for it to be really enjoyable. The art by Takahashi is really nice though, and I really like how he draws dogs in particular. They're not perfectly anatomical by any means, but the way he draws them just has a lot of charm. I really like their big eyes and expressive faces. The reason it was likely rushed was because Takahashi Takahashi would still be creating the sequel to Ginga, Ginga Dentetsu Weed, at the same time, something I think he'd do throughout his career, which would be working on multiple manga at once, a manga making machine through and through. And that's pretty much the Lassie manga. It's a short but nice little 2-volume read that's now more of a curiosity than anything, but nevertheless it was an interesting thing to read and talk about. Thank you to the Ginga translation team for allowing us to read this little piece of Lassie history. I hope you've enjoyed this little manga video. If you did, consider subscribing, as I mostly talk about manga on my channel, especially older ones, like in my History of Weekly Shonen Jump series where Takahashi crops up now and again. As always, thank you for watching, remember to be kind to each other, and take care.
You're welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, please thank Lassie.